This podcast is for SEO professionals, and each week, with the help of our wonderful guests, we discuss the important stuff that actually affects our careers and progression, but sadly often doesn't get talked about. You know, the invaluable soft and interpersonal skills that are often taken for granted, such as the skills we need for listening, time management, communication, and more. We also talk about the big issues that affect us and our careers, such as burnout, imposter syndrome, self-belief, saying no, plus other big issues and obstacles. With this podcast, we want to share knowledge on topics that unlock our listeners' true potential and enhance not only their careers, but all parts of their lives. So, are you ready to prioritize your own personal growth and career development? Then let's crack on with this week's episode. Hello and a very warm welcome to the SEO Mindset podcast, where your hosts are myself, Sarah McDowell, and the ever so fabulous Tasman Suleiman, with episodes going out every single Thursday. This week, I have an awesome guest joining me. It is the one, the only, Billie Gina, and we are discussing all things personal learning programs. We discuss what is a personal learning program, how they differ to more traditional or other ways of learning, how to create a personal learning program, so how you actually create one yourself, and how we measure, so the importance of tracking and measuring success with our learning outcomes. Who is Billie? Billie is a good friend of mine and is the founder of RankSuite, a digital marketing learning platform. She's an industry veteran turned educator, and in her words, these aren't mine, an all-round silly goose. Hope that brings a smile to your face like it did mine. Before we crack on with the episode, just a reminder of how you can support the podcast. If you like what me and Tasman are doing, why not give us a one-off donation? We are set up on Buy Me a Coffee. And if you fancy giving us a one-off donation, we'd be ever so appreciative. And the link in the show notes to do that. Thank you to everyone who's already done that. And a reminder to rate, review, and subscribe. All the three things. So next time you are listening to an episode, just make sure that you are subscribed and you're following the podcast. And if you're feeling extra generous, why not give us, a cheeky 5-star rating and review? That'd be ever so wonderful. Right. Are you ready to learn about personal learning programs? Of course you are. So let's crack on. A very warm welcome to Billie.
Hey Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad that it is finally the end of January.
It's taken far too long to come. This year's just dragging it already.
So it's the 28th while we're recording this episode. I'm not sure when this episode will go out, but yeah, I do feel that January, it's just going on and on. And I mean, I like January because it's my birthday. I know that people have a love-hate relationship with January, but I'm just now ready. I'm like, come on, January, let's be having you. Move over for the next month.
Yeah, I think it's because you have October, which is all Halloween. November, you have bonfire night. You have Thanksgiving if you're in America. You have Black Friday, and then you've got the entire Christmas season for December. And there's just nothing. I know you've got your birthday, but there's no national holiday to make something exciting happen in January.
I'm completely okay if they made my birthday a national holiday. That would be fine with me.
It's fine with me. So we'll make it Sarah McDowell Day. I can't actually remember when your birthday is. What date is it?
8th of January.
8th of January. Everyone listening, mark your calendar. Write to the king or whoever to make it a bank holiday. Let's stop. Let's make this happen.
I think there's also an element of January. It just seems to be dark outside all the time. Like the window for sunlight is ever so small. But yeah. Anyway, let's stop complaining about January. Now, this isn't your first rodeo. This isn't the first time being on the SEO Mindset podcast, is it?
No, you can't get rid of me.
You're back again.
I'm never going to leave. I am the demon that will haunt you and Tasmin forever.
Haunt us away. You previously joined us, I think it was August time last year, 2024, and we discussed self-paced learning. And that was a really good episode. So, what I'll do is make sure that there are links to that episode in the show notes because, yeah, after listening to this one, I very much urge people to continue listening to the wise words from you, Billie.
They absolutely should. It's the biannual Billie's learning section.
Maybe we need to come up with a more catchier, sexier title for that.
No, it's perfect. It's fine.
So, what are we talking about today? So, today we are discussing personal learning programs. So, it's kind of related to your last episode, self paced learning, and obviously related to your fantastic platform, which is RankSuite, which is a great resource for those in the SEO industry. It's a great learning platform if you want to, get really good at SEO. I love Billie's just nodding. People can't see nods, but Billie is nodding along.
I'll try and nod more audibly.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. Let's kick things off then. First question, and probably the most logical place to start, is what do we mean when we say a personal learning program?
So, more often than not, it's done in a way where it's just the formalities of how someone learns written out. So, it's just a real clear goal-oriented way of figuring out where you are now, taking stock, how you're going to progress your learning. A lot of companies use similar things like personal development plans, but it is slightly different. Like a personal development plan is more action oriented and KPI oriented, whereas a learning plan it doesn't need to be done in a work scenario. You could just set one for yourself. You could set one for your family, your children, whatever. Like, it's a really good way of creating a plan that looks at the goals, how you're going to achieve that goal, what's a realistic timeline, what resources will you need, and who can help you as well achieve that. And it can look a million different ways. I think they're really cool. I think they're interesting. I think everyone should make one for themselves.
Definitely. And I suppose the key difference then between a PDP, a personal development plan, and a personal learning program is with a personal development plan, the goals are going to be more aligned with the overall business goals. So, how you can achieve the business that you're working for to achieve what it wants to in a certain period of time. Whereas a personal learning program, it says it in the title, doesn't it? It's personal to you. And it could be related to your current job because you want to upskill so you can go for a promotion or you want to take on more responsibility. But you can also have the flexibility of, do you know what? I'm not just going to make goals that are just for my current role, but I want to develop and learn outside as well. So is that a good way of thinking about it as well?
Yeah, it's something that you can take anywhere and can apply to anything. So, an example for me, if I'm talking about my personal learning program for my work, I want to learn how to do PPC. I've somehow managed to avoid it for my entire career, so I'm going to try and learn that. But then outside of work, because we need that work-life balance, we can't work all the time. I want to learn how to knit. I love the idea of having a blanket that I've made myself. So I want to learn how to knit. And that's two very different plans, two very different skills and objectives that I want to do. But I can use the same framework to figure out how I'm going to achieve both things.
I love the idea of knitting. I love the idea of, snuggling down with a cuppa. You've got your favourite whatever Netflix series on in the background or music, and you're just knitting away. But I just don't have the patience, Billie. I imagine you
Well,
need to have a lot of patience for knitting.
yeah, I tried doing embroidery because Lydia Infante made me a lovely little spooky, like, round embroidery thing. And I was like, I want to make one. And it was so slow. But in my head, knitting's going to be faster than embroidery.
Okay.
But by the time we next talk and you ask for an update on my knitting, I might say it's too slow. It wasn't for me because I'm a results oriented person. So I might just say I bought a blanket.
So when I ask, Billie, where's my SEO Mindset branded beanie? Where are you with that?
Probably say it's on Vistaprint. Go sort it out.
I mean, that's an idea. Billie knitted branded merch for the podcast. Collaboration with RankSuite. But anyway.
We're so bad at keeping on track. That's what I want to learn how to do this year. Not distract people.
So, with that, staying on track, let's bring it back to these personal learning programs then, Billie. So, I feel like we've got a clearer understanding now. So, we know what we're talking about. If someone asks us, tell me in 60 seconds what a personal learning program is, our listeners will be able to do that. Easy. How would you say a personal learning program differs to more traditional ways of learning?
I think it gives you that structure. So the learning plan is something that you'll do at the beginning and then revisit. Whereas I feel a lot of people go into learning or training just because they either want to learn a thing or their boss is making them, it's part of their job. And you kind of turn up and you absorb the knowledge, but you don't really know how that's going to fit into yourself. So with a personal learning program, you have that end goal, you have an objective, you know what you want to get out of that.
So, what we're sort of saying is with other ways or other more traditional ways of learning, you might get a bit stuck because you're like, how do I implement this? How do I implement my learning? How do I take it out of the classroom, so to speak, virtual, in person, however you're learning? How do I take it out of the classroom and actually implement it so I can try it? Whereas with a personal learning program, because it's personal to you and you're getting to call the shots and you're deciding, of course you're going to be able to implement it, because that's why you're going to be learning certain things, because you need to learn it so then you can practice it, you can implement it, you can try it out.
Exactly. So an example could be we're starting out with our objective, and I'm going to go work focused. I could say I work within a company, a digital marketing agency, and my goal is I want to become the go-to person in that company to help people with Google Tag Manager. So I've got my objective, that's my end goal. So I then need to work backwards and think about everything I need to do to get to that space. So what knowledge do I already have? Do I need to invest in making a website and setting up Tag Manager? Can I attend courses? Can I do this in work time? Or should I do this in my own time? How can I set this up and pace myself to achieve that? I can look at my own strengths and the strengths of people around me, so I can find other subject matter experts and things like that to achieve that plan. And that reaching my objective in the program That might take me a year to do. It might take me much longer to do. I picked Tag Manager. I'm useless with Tag Manager. I barely get a chance to use that in my current role. So what's a realistic time frame to being able to achieve that? And by going about your goals in a structured way, you can create this really fantastic way of miniature goals, smart objectives, and learning to achieve anything you want. But it's really process oriented. It's not just I'm going to learn this. You need to have a goal.
Yes, which can feel very overwhelming. So if you've just got this one massive goal that seems something that you really want to achieve, that you really want to do, but if it's too big, it could be like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Where do I even start? Whereas you've just made a really good point. You need to be able to chunk that big goal down. Yeah. Chunk it down into bite-sized chunks. So then you can, okay, have a plan, have a structure, figure out, okay, that's where I want to end up. But obviously, I'm not just going to do that overnight. I'm not going to do that in one learning thing, whatever that is. So it's a really good reminder that we do need to chunk it down. We do need to set the different steps and the different processes because we need to know how we're going to get there. And that's how we make that goal, that learning goal, more realistic, and we know how to achieve it.
And I think one thing everyone needs to consider when they're learning something new is that incremental progress is still progress. No one is a master at anything overnight.
No one's born a master. No one's born an expert. It takes time.
Exactly. Is it something like 1,000 hours to be?
What?
Or is it 10,000 hours? There's a thing. I'm just chatting now. We'll just delete. Don't delete. Everyone can listen to me ramble. But yeah, I've lost track of where I was going with that.
Yeah, I mean, the main point is you got to put the hours in to become an expert. You got to put the hours in to learn a craft, know what you're doing, specialize. So yeah, and just be kind to yourself. There's going to be a learning curve, but that's part and parcel, right, Billie? I'm going to have to take us on a short break. We can give our listeners time to digest what we've already spoken about. And in part 2, we'll be talking ways to put into place a personal learning program. It's quite hard to say personal learning program.
I know. I keep wanting to say PLP, but then I'm thinking the audience might think I'm on about product listing pages. And
when we spoke about personal development plans, I always think PDPs, product description pages. But yeah, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So part 2 is how to create a personal learning program, and we'll also be talking about measurement. So join us for part 2. Ever feel like your SEO strategy could use a boost? At Previsible, they don't just optimize websites, they build strategies to scale organic growth. Their team of seasoned experts partners with businesses at every stage, from startups to enterprises, crafting solutions that actually move the needle. Whether it's hands-on SEO consulting, recruiting the perfect SEO team, or empowering your in-house talent, Previsible has you covered. Visit previsible.io or follow the links in the show notes to see how they're pushing SEO forward, one strategy at a time. Ready to rank higher? Then let's get started. The live podcast is back. SEO Mindset and Search with Candor is teaming up again to record a podcast in front of a live audience the night before Brighton SEO. And the topic is all about personal brand. We'll be discussing what this is, why it's important, and sharing strategies and our own experiences. Time for the important details. It's happening Wednesday, the 9th of April, 2025. from 7 p.m. at Projects The Lanes. It's free to attend and there'll be free pizza, snacks, and drinks. Please help us to spread the word. Tell your friends, your work colleagues, anyone and everyone, anyone who you think would really enjoy this event. It was a sellout last time, so grab your ticket today to secure your spot. To do that, simply head on over to the show notes and you'll find a link. We really look forward to seeing you on the night. We all want to grow in our careers, right? But finding the right resources, well, that can be tricky. Enter RankSuite, your go-to for self-paced digital marketing training. At RankSuite, they focus on what actually works. They're not just about SEO, they're about helping you develop the skills that matter in the digital world. Whether that's mastering technical SEO, diving deep into content strategy, or making sense of analytics, they've got you covered with fresh courses every single month. And they don't just hand you the basics and walk away. Many of their courses come with downloadable frameworks, worksheets, and challenges to help you apply what you learn. Who are our instructors? Industry experts who are out there doing the work every single day. They're not just talking about it. And the best part, they're committed to white hat, sustainable strategies. There are no shortcuts here, just actionable knowledge, peer reviewed for quality. Are you ready to take control of your learning? Start your journey with RankSuite today by clicking the link in the show notes. Use the code SEO Mindset at checkout to get a 30% discount and an extended 21-day free trial. We're back for part 2. Billie, are you still with us?
No. They've gone. Farewell.
You're working on your personal learning program.
I am. It's all about that knitting, my marginal gains, my incremental progress.
Oh, there we go. I mean, I think you should have a section within RankSuite all about knitting.
I think that's exactly what marketers want, honestly. I think we're so switched on all the time that we need some hobbies like
Mindfulness.
yeah, let's be more mindful. Let's just knit beanies for
The SEO
everyone.
mindset.
Everyone. We're now a big production company. We're just knitting beanies for the SEO mindset. That's a requirement to subscribe to RankSuite.
We could we can co-brand them, RankSuite and the SEO mindset.
That's too much embroidery. I've tried that. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Right. So part 1, we spoke about what is a personal learning program and we talked about how it differs to other methods that are out there. We're now going to get into some practical strategies that you can start to implement straight after listening to this episode. So, Billie, over to you. Can you share with us some of those practical hands-on strategies that we can be implementing to create a banging personal learning program?
So first, you need to consider how this is going to look. Are you going to write it on a scrap of the paper? Is it going to be on a spreadsheet? Is it going to be on a sticky note on your laptop? You do not want to create your personal learning program. I was about to say page. I had to stop. It needs to be something that you don't forget about, something that you see and that you will review. And you also need to consider, is this something that you're doing on your own time? Where does whatever it is you're trying to learn and your goal fit into your life? Because if it's something that's critical for your job, you maybe want to speak to your line manager about it and see if that could be part of your development plan as well. Because you upskilling doesn't just benefit you, it benefits your clients, your employer, everything. And if it's something that benefits that you're working on for your work and your career, maybe you shouldn't do it on your own time, or you can do a bit on your own time. You need to consider how that time's going to fit. My brain has given up. Do you have anything to add there, Sarah? And I'll remember my third point.
I bet you it's right in that brain of yours. It's just hiding. I hate those moments where your brain just goes blank.
That's my life. Okay. So whatever this plan looks like, don't sit and think about how other people learn. You need to make sure it fits to the way you learn. Whether you're practical, like you need to get hands on, you need to actually play around and break things, or if you're more of an auditory learner and can listen to someone explain and share their experience. There's a lot of different learning styles. I think one of the most important things you can do when learning anything is to spend some time and identify the way you learn best and create your plan around that. So whether it's watching a course on RankSuite, other providers are available, or if it's getting to go out there or asking to work on a very specific client that's got specific needs that fit what you're wanting to learn and develop skills around. Really consider the different styles, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Not everyone learns the same. Do what's best for you.
Definitely, definitely. And just as you were talking, it kind of got my brain thinking. Some of the things that you could think about is, whilst you need to put time aside for the learning, also put time aside to practice what you've learned.
That's the biggest thing. Majority of people don't retain information unless they've had a time to try it out, to do something practical. And that's the best thing you can do for yourself is learn and try and fail, and then learn from your failings.
Or even teach your new learnings to someone else. So that's what I would be considering. Also, we've already talked about chunking it down. So you've got this overarching learning goal and you know why you want to achieve it, and chunk it down. But also have a think about realistic times and dates that you're going to put aside. And this is going to be tricky because I'm speaking from my own experience. I always think that I can get a lot more done in a day than I actually can. Trying to get better at this, trying to be a bit more realistic. But maybe you can set a block of time in your calendar, maybe like every Friday in the afternoon, that is your learning day. Or maybe you're better doing increments, so daily for an hour, daily for half an hour. But plan it in and do it realistically, but then block it out in your calendar is something else that I would recommend. And also think about accountability. So, is there other people that you can team up with? Are there other people that you can learn something together? Or it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're learning the same thing, but you're all learning different things, but you want to keep each other accountable. So maybe you can agree that once a month you all get together and you talk about how you're progressing, what you've learned, any obstacles. Any way that you can find ways to keep yourself accountable and on track is another thing that I would think about as well.
Yeah. So I used to work with this SEO called Lois Cookson. She's fantastic. I'm obsessed with her. I love her to bits. And she, at the company we worked at, arranged these personal development sharing hours, once a month. And anyone that leads a team, that's a manager, if you have responsibility over people, I want you to listen to this directly. If you don't listen to anything else I've said, take this with you. But it was so fantastic because it was an entire team. I think there were like 30 of us at this time. And you should just ask people if you've learned something, whether it's a complex like theory or just something that other people might know, stand up and in this time talk to us about what you've learned and how you can apply it. It started off being like this really nerve-wracking practice, but because it was encouraged and this was time in work that we got to spend on this, it did really frequently have a lot of participants. And the skills that these people were learning and the team were learning, because you were learning presentation skills, better communication skills, you were getting a chance to teach something that you've just learned and verbalize that. And I think it was one of the most fantastic things I've ever seen a team do. And I'd really recommend every workplace doing this. So go forth and force this onto our industry, please.
Go forth and spread the knowledge. Okay, so we are running a little bit out of time, but we've still got time to talk about one other aspect here. So I think this has been a really good episode because we've discussed what is a personal learning program, how it differs, and we have shared ways that you can create a personal learning program. What would you say about measurement? Is measuring your kind of learning success important? And if so, if it is important, why and how? How do we do it?
I think it's as important as anything that we do. Your measurement and your progress could also be a bit like a personal KPI you've set for yourself. If you're not reflecting and being able to visualize your progress, then are you actually making progress? And I feel like if you don't take time to reflect, that's where you can become really harsh on yourself, where you're being like, oh, I've been saying I want to become the master of Google Tag Manager for ages, and it's just not happening. And you're saying that, but you could have spent hundreds of hours trying to upskill yourself, and because you don't have a way of looking back and seeing your progress, you become negative, and that voice in your head isn't recognizing your success. So I think regularly making notes, doing self-reflection, and or just measuring and keeping note that you've spent an hour doing this, or a diary or whatever. I think that's so powerful. And one of the biggest things in learning is your mindset. If you think you're rubbish at something, you're going to really struggle changing your own mind. Reflect, look after yourself.
And actually, measurement, reflection, taking stock, looking back on what you've learned will help you stay on track as well. And I've already spoke about accountability, but it'll also help with that accountability because you'll see, actually, I'm quite bossing this. Actually, look how much I've learned and look at the outcomes of that. So when you're reflecting, you could be like, I've learned this skill and this has enabled me to do X, Y, and Z. And actually having time to look back on that, of course, it's going to empower you to carry on learning, because if you look back and you see what you can achieve and your personal growth, how is that not motivation in itself?
Exactly. Like without measurement, without reflection, you're not going to see that. You're not going to realize that. And you've just summarized that so beautifully. I'm just chatting for the sake of it now.
You're never chatting for the sake of it, Billie. Come on, you've got to be kinder to yourself.
No, I'm around me all the time. I chat for the sake of it.
Obviously, I feel like this episode has been jam-packed. We filled it to the rim of lots of wonderful knowledge around the topic of personal learning program. And I'm sure our listeners are chomping at the bit. I've never said that saying before. And when I heard myself saying it, it's a bit of a weird saying, isn't it? Chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I don't like it. I don't want to hear it again.
I could have just made that saying up. Anyway, people will be very empowered and wanting to create their own personal learning program. So, what is the main key takeaway that you want our listeners to have from this episode?
The key takeaway is go to the SEO Mindset website. I'm going to put together a template for you to take away. You can use it however you want. I think just do it. That is the best way to learn. Take away the document and apply it to your life.
That's very generous. So just to confirm, you're going to put a template together that our listeners can use?
Yeah, they can download and use. I'll just do like a spreadsheet template.
Okie dokie. Well, what we'll do is rather than directing people to the website, we'll just direct people to the show notes. So we'll pop. I've done this old podcast thing before, Billie. It's not my first rodeo. I know what I'm doing here. I'm joking. Yeah, we'll pop a link to that resource that Billie has very generously offered to put together in the show notes. So yeah, go and check that out, download it, and yeah, you can start working on it yourself. We also need to mention the collaboration that we've got between the SEO Mindset and RankSuite.
Yeah, never ends this collaboration. There's a 30% off discount code. The details will also be in the show notes or the website show notes. Yeah, it's been going on for a while now. I'm loving this collaboration we've got going on. So take advantage of that.
And it's not just, you don't just save money, do you? There's an extended trial as well.
21 days, which is way longer than a normal 7-day trial.
There you go. So make sure, basically just go on over to our show notes. And we always say this in every episode. Our show notes are always full of resources, things that we've spoken about during the podcast. Earlier on in the podcast, we also mentioned about the previous episode that Billie joined us for. So just go and head on over to the podcast show notes and check out all the resources, all the links, and all the lovely stuff. Billie, it's been wonderful. If people want to carry on the conversation, where are you? How can they do that, please?
So I'm in the show notes, but you can also find me on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, wherever, Billie Gina or Billie Gina Hyde. I'm trying to drop the surname.
How are you getting on with Blue Sky? I'm hearing wonderful things from the SEO community.
I love Blue Sky. Get on there. It's like how Twitter was 4 years ago. It's a nice vibe.
I've heard that it's old school Twitter SEO community vibes and people are just loving it.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense because isn't Blue Sky, wasn't it created by the people who worked at Twitter anyway?
Don't know. I could lie, but I don't know.
I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think that's right. I think that's, that's what I've heard in the community. But anyway, before we get on to the whole debate about Twitter X Blue Sky, because that's a whole different kettle of fish. Let's wrap up. And yes, thank you so much, Billie, for joining us. It's been wonderful. Thank you to our listeners for joining us for another episode. And the only thing left to say is goodbye. Take care of yourselves. And until next time. What if you could take control of your career growth on your own terms? Well, that's exactly what RankSuite is here for. RankSuite is more than just SEO. It's a complete digital marketing training platform. With courses covering technical SEO, content, and analytics, they give you the tools to grow your skills at your own pace. There's no shortcuts, no gimmicks, just real sustainable strategies taught by industry experts who live and breathe this stuff every day. Plus, it's packed with worksheets and challenges to make sure what you learn sticks. Are you ready to take the next step? Start your journey with RankSuite today by clicking the link in the show notes. Use the code SEO Mindset at checkout to get a 30% discount and an extended 21-day free trial. Don't forget about that live podcast happening the night before Brighton SEO, which is all about personal brand. Yep, the SEO Mindset and Search with Candour podcasts are teaming up again. It's happening Wednesday the 9th of April 2025 from 7 p.m. at Projects The Lanes It's free to attend and there'll be free pizza, snacks, and drinks. Please help us to spread the word. Tell your friends, work colleagues, anyone and everyone. Help us shout it from the rooftops. It was a sellout last time, so to avoid that horrible FOMO feeling, grab your ticket today to secure your spot. Head on over to the show notes for the link, and we look forward to seeing you on the night. Today's episode is brought to you by Previsible, your partner in scalable SEO growth. From consulting to recruiting and AI search optimization, Previsible's solutions are built for brands looking to lead in search. Discover what a strategy-first approach can do for your visibility. Learn more at previsible.io or follow the links in the show notes and start seeing results that last.